di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana patuloy.
Tears and triumph collided as Alex Eala stunned the tennis world by dismantling Venus Williams in a shocking upset, then revealing a dark and painful past that no one saw coming. Known as the place where the hottest news, wildest rumors, and most heart-stopping moments in tennis come straight to your screen, today's story challenges everything you think you know about the cost of greatness. This revelation was raw, unexpected, and heartbreaking, leaving fans and players alike in stunned silence, only for that silence to be shattered by a victory so powerful it shook the foundations of the ASB Classic in Auckland. At the center of it all is Alex Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino prodigy who achieved the unthinkable, and before we even look at the scoreboard, her story demands to be told. Before we get to the massive upset that sent Venus Williams packing, we need to address the bombshell that dropped just hours before Alex Eala stepped onto the court. In a moment of vulnerability no one expected, Alex peeled back the curtain on her life and revealed not the glamorous reality of a jet-setting athlete, but a dark and lonely tunnel of severe mental health struggles that nearly broke her. Thousands of miles away from home and thrust into the relentless pressure of the American tennis system, she tearfully confessed that her teenage years were consumed by isolation, bullying, and being ignored, singled out simply for being an Asian girl trying to make it in the United States. It's a confession that hit straight to the chest, because she wasn't just battling opponents on the court. She was fighting a brutal war in her own mind, struggling against prejudice and loneliness while the world watched her swing a racket, unaware of the tears she shed behind closed doors. Fans are left in shock, reminded how easily we assume young athletes with sponsors and smiles are living the dream, while Alex instead painted a picture of silent suffering hidden beneath the surface. She described it as a nightmare: the silence of the locker room, the cold shoulders, and the constant feeling that she didn't belong. Many are now wondering how a 20-year-old could endure that level of trauma and still stand tall, because it changes everything about how you see her. When Alex Eala pumps her fist now, it's no longer just about winning a point. It's about survival, about proving to every bully, every doubter, and everyone who once ignored her that she isn't here merely to participate, she's here to take over. And take over is exactly what she did. Fresh off this emotional unburdening, Eala stepped onto the hard courts of the ASB Classic in New Zealand, this time not alone, but alongside American rising star Iva Jovic, the world number 35 in singles. Together, they formed a teenage dream team with an average age of just 19, facing absolute royalty across the net: the legendary Venus Williams, a 7-time Grand Slam singles champion, and Ukrainian powerhouse Alina Svitolina. Between Venus and Alina stood decades of dominance, multiple Olympic medals, and a legacy few dare to challenge. You were looking at decades of medals, experience, intimidation, and tennis history staring down two teenagers, and on paper, the match seemed like a masterclass waiting to happen, the veterans teaching the kids a lesson. The atmosphere in Auckland was electric, with the crowd eager to watch Venus, the queen herself, work her magic alongside Alina Svitolina. For the first hour, it appeared the legends had complete control. The opening set became a brutal war of attrition, with Williams and Svitolina unloading heavy ground strokes and using their elite courtcraft to push the teenagers around. The set went to a tiebreak, and that's when the drama truly exploded. The veterans earned set point after set point, 7 in total, each time standing on the brink of taking the lead as the crowd held its breath, ready to applaud the inevitable. But Alex Eala and Iva Jovic refused to follow the script. In a stunning display of mental fortitude, perhaps forged in the very struggles Eala had spoken about, the teenagers dug their heels in. They didn't crumble. They didn't panic. They saved every single one of those 7 set points, and the tension was unbearable. Imagine staring down Venus Williams on set point and still having the nerve to rip a winner. Fighting tooth and nail, Alex Eala and Iva Jovic clawed their way back into the tiebreak and flipped the script, stealing the first set 9-7. That comeback shattered the legends. You could feel the air drain from the Williams-Svitolina camp as nearly an hour of grinding effort slipped away after 7 missed chances. From that moment on, the momentum swung violently, and the second set wasn't a contest, it was a coronation. Sensing blood, Eala and Jovic came out firing, playing loose, aggressive, joyful tennis as they steamrolled their opponents, dropping just one game. The final score read 7-6, 6-1 in 1 hour and 29 minutes. With the second set a blink-and-you'll-miss-it demolition. It was a statement win, opening the 2026 season by knocking out 2 pioneers of the sport, the kind of result dreams are made of. For Alex Eala, the tears from earlier were replaced by a beaming smile as she said, "I had such a good time on court. I think we had a lot of fun, and just to start the year with a moment like this, sharing the court with 2 pioneers of the sport, people I've looked up to since I was young, I'm so happy." It's almost poetic, isn't it? The girl who was once ignored and bullied because of her background is now sharing the court with, and defeating, the very idols she grew up watching. This wasn't just participation, it was ownership, and the victory sent a thunderous message to the rest of the tour. The new generation isn't waiting for the torch to be handed over, they're taking it. But the meaning of this moment stretches far beyond one match in Auckland. Alex Eala's journey reflects a much larger conversation unfolding in professional sports, where mental health, once the unspoken elephant in the room, is finally being dragged into the light. Athletes like Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles, and now Eala are showing us that the cost of excellence isn't measured only in training hours and trophies, but in sleepless nights, anxiety, and the crushing loneliness of being far from home in a cutthroat environment. When Eala spoke about being bullied and isolated in the United States, she wasn't just sharing personal pain. She was giving a voice to countless young international players who face the same struggles without a platform to be heard. And what makes her story so powerful is that she didn't let it break her. She didn't quit. She didn't accept the idea that she didn't belong. Instead, she turned that pain into fuel. Now, every time she steps onto the court, she's playing not just for herself, but for every kid who's ever felt like an outsider, every young player who's been bullied or ignored, proving that talent, resilience, and belief can rise above it all. Her story proves that determination, belief, and mental toughness can overcome even the most hostile environments, which makes the timing of her confession all the more remarkable. Opening up about mental health struggles, crying in public, and showing vulnerability in a world where athletes are trained to hide weakness takes an enormous emotional toll. Most players would need days, even weeks, to recover from that level of exposure. But Alex Eala went from tears to triumph in a matter of hours. That isn't just athletic excellence, it's emotional intelligence and resilience at the highest level. It suggests that confronting her struggles instead of burying them actually liberated her, allowing her to play freer, braver tennis. That lesson extends far beyond this match and could resonate across every sport. And now, let's look more closely at the match itself, because the tactical and psychological layers of this upset deserve deeper examination. When Eala and Iva Jovic stepped onto the court, they knew they were massive underdogs. Across the net stood Venus Williams, still an imposing presence even at this stage of her career. Even at this stage of her career, Venus Williams is still Venus Williams, a player who has seen every shot, every strategy, and every pressure-filled moment imaginable, winning on the biggest stages the sport has to offer. And Alina Svitolina is no slouch either. The Ukrainian star spent years inside the top 10, captured WTA titles across multiple surfaces, and reached the semifinals of several Grand Slams. These are players who know how to close out matches. But something fascinating unfolded in that first set tiebreak. When Williams and Svitolina reached set point, they likely expected the youngsters to tighten up, because experience is supposed to prevail in those moments. Instead, Alex Eala and Iva Jovic showed no nerves at all. They continued to swing freely, committing fully to their shots, and with each saved set point their confidence grew while the veterans' frustration mounted. By the time Eala and Jovic captured the tiebreak, the psychological balance had completely flipped. Williams and Svitolina had thrown their best punch and it hadn't landed. They had 7 chances to seize control of the match and failed to convert a single one, a demoralizing blow when you're facing opponents who, on paper, should be intimidated. From there, the second set became a formality, with the legends mentally and emotionally drained while the teenagers rode a wave of adrenaline and belief. There's also a generational element to this story that cannot be ignored. Venus Williams, at 44, has been a professional since 1994, amassing Olympic gold medals, Grand Slam titles, and transforming the sport in countless ways. Yet, even legends must eventually confront the inevitability of time. This loss to Alex Eala and Iva Jovic may not mark the end of Venus's career, but it is a stark reminder that the torch is being passed to a new generation. Whether she accepts that gracefully or continues to fight against the inevitable remains to be seen. For Eala and Jovic, however, this victory could be the launching pad for something far greater. Both are still in their teens with entire careers ahead of them, and a signature win like this, especially at the start of the season, instills enormous confidence and momentum. It tells them, and the rest of the tour, that they belong at the very highest level of the sport. It signals the rise of a new era in women's tennis. That victory tells Eala and Jovic that they can compete with and beat the very best players in the world. That kind of belief is invaluable and could mark the difference between settling into journeyman careers and rising to Grand Slam glory. But it's important not to get ahead of ourselves, because the real test is still to come. Doubles allows you to hide some weaknesses behind a partner, to share the pressure and responsibilities, but singles is an entirely different beast. It's just you on the court, nowhere to hide, no one to pick you up when things go wrong. That's why Eala's upcoming singles match against Donna Vekic is so crucial. Vekic, the Croatian star, has been ranked as high as world number 19 and boasts wins over some of the sport's top players, making her a formidable opponent and a true test of Eala's skill, mental toughness, and readiness to shine on her own. Donna Vekic has proven herself against the biggest names in tennis, recently reaching the Olympic final in Paris, where she fell to Yung Chin-win, but showcased that she can perform on the sport's grandest stages. Her game is built on powerful serves, heavy ground strokes, and relentless aggression. She's experienced and won't be intimidated by a 20-year-old, no matter what that young player just accomplished in doubles. This upcoming singles match will reveal what Alex Eala is truly made of. Can she back up her doubles upset with a strong singles performance, handle the pressure after her emotional confession and victory over Venus, and execute her game plan against a player coming at her with full intensity? The answers could define her 2026 season and potentially her career. The broader context of the ASB Classic heightens the stakes. It's the final major tune-up before the Australian Open, where every player is trying to find form, fix weaknesses, and build confidence heading into Melbourne. For Venus Williams, this doubles loss is disappointing but far from catastrophic. She already has a wild card for the Australian Open, where she is a 4-time doubles champion and will have time to regroup and refocus. But for Eala, the road ahead promises both challenges and opportunity. For younger players like Alex Eala, every match is an opportunity to make a statement and secure better draws, wild cards, or recognition at future events. The Australian Open looms especially large for her. If she can carry the confidence and form from Auckland into Melbourne, she could make serious waves at her first Grand Slam of the year. The Philippines has never produced a Grand Slam singles champion, and while it's too early to crown Eala with such expectations, her trajectory is undeniably promising. She has the talent, the mental toughness, and, following her heartfelt confession, the support of fans around the world rooting for her success. The response to her openness about mental health has been overwhelmingly positive. Social media has been flooded with messages of encouragement and solidarity, with fans praising her courage and many sharing their own stories of bullying and mental health struggles. This outpouring of support not only highlights the impact of her words, but also creates a sense of community around her journey, something that could be profoundly meaningful as she navigates the pressures of professional tennis. Especially given Eala's past struggles with loneliness and isolation during her teenage years, knowing she now has a massive support system can be an incredible source of strength. But there's also a darker side to the conversation. Some are asking tough questions about who or what was responsible for Eala's bullying and isolation. Were certain coaches or players making her feel unwelcome? Were there systemic issues at the academies where she trained? And perhaps most importantly, what is being done to prevent other young players from facing similar experiences? These are uncomfortable questions the tennis establishment might prefer to avoid, but they are essential if the sport is to evolve and become truly inclusive. The Women's Tennis Association has taken steps in recent years to address mental health, partnering with organizations, providing resources for players struggling with anxiety and depression, and trying to ease some schedule pressures that contribute to burnout. Yet Eala's story shows more still needs to be done, especially for young international players, who are particularly vulnerable to isolation and cultural dislocation. Academies and tournaments must do a better job creating inclusive environments where players from all backgrounds feel welcomed and supported, and coaches need training to recognize signs of distress and provide the guidance that can make or break a young athlete's career. Coaches need to recognize signs of mental health struggles and know how to intervene effectively. And the tennis community as a whole must foster a culture where seeking help is seen as a strength, not a weakness. As we look ahead to the rest of the ASB Classic and the Australian Open, Alex Eala's story remains one of the most compelling narratives of the early season. She has given us a window into the hidden costs of pursuing athletic excellence, showing that vulnerability and strength are not mutually exclusive. Her willingness to be vulnerable may, in fact, be the source of her greatest strength. Every time she steps onto the court, she carries the hopes of an entire nation behind her. The Philippines, a country passionate about its sports heroes, is witnessing the rise of one of its biggest stars, but Eala's significance goes beyond national pride. She represents everyone who has ever been told they don't belong, who has ever been bullied, excluded, or struggled in silence with mental health challenges. Her victories are theirs, and her courage gives others permission to speak their truth. That legacy extends far beyond rankings and tournament results. The coming weeks will be crucial for Eala, as she navigates the heightened attention expectations, and demands of professional tennis. How she maintains focus, continues improving her game, and stays true to herself under pressure will reveal the full measure of her character and potential. The talent is evident, the mental toughness is undeniable, and now, with her story out in the open, she is no longer carrying that burden alone. We are witnessing the emergence of a champion not just on the court, but in life. We are witnessing the emergence of a genuine star, a player with the ability to transcend the sport and become something bigger. Alex Eala's journey from bullied teenager to Venus Williams conqueror is the kind of story that reminds us why we love sports. It's not just about competition or results, but about human drama, personal struggles, and the triumph of spirit over adversity. In just a few extraordinary days in Auckland, Eala has shown us her pain, her strength, and her immense talent. The next chapter awaits in her singles match against Donna Vekic, followed by the Australian Open and the rest of the 2026 season, full of promise and potential. There will almost certainly be setbacks and struggles along the way, but now we know Alex Eala has the resilience to overcome whatever comes her way. Every match is a chance to prove herself again and inspire others fighting their own battles. This is sport at its best. It gives us heroes we can relate to, stories we can invest in, and moments that remind us of what human beings can achieve when they refuse to give up. Eala's story also highlights broader issues, like the importance of mental health support and inclusivity in professional tennis, and it encourages fans to reflect, share their experiences, and build communities of support. Behind every ace, winner, and victory is a human being with a story worth telling, and Alex Eala has just shared hers, a story that will resonate for years to come. As she continues her journey, we can only stay tuned, stay engaged, and stay inspired.